Today, a former insider is breaking her silence, and what she's revealing will leave you stunned. Lisa Anderson, Joni Lamb's personal executive assistant, has come forward with explosive allegations about what really went on behind the scenes of this so-called ministry empire. She was Joni's right hand, trusted, loyal, and on the inside of everything. But now, she's pulling back the curtain on Daystar, exposing the reality of its toxic culture, the demands, the manipulation, and yes, the secrets the Lamb family didn't want anyone to know. What was it really like working for one of the most powerful women in Christian broadcasting? Why did Joni call an emergency meeting during Marcus Lamb's affair? And what did she tell her staff? And perhaps the most shocking, how far did the Lambs go to keep control over their empire? What Lisa reveals will shock you, challenge everything you thought you knew about Daystar, and leave you asking, how did this all go so wrong? Lisa Anderson began working at Daystar in 2007, eager to serve what she thought was a ministry devoted to spreading God's word. But it didn't take long for her to realize that Daystar was less of a ministry and more of an empire, with Marcus and Joni Lamb reigning at the top. It was during Lisa's tenure that Marcus Lamb's affair came to light, an affair that had allegedly spanned 7 years. Think about that. 7 years. And when the truth finally came out, instead of addressing the betrayal, the Lambs were more concerned about protecting their brand and, as you'll hear later, their money. Lisa was right in the middle of this chaos, and what she experienced was nothing short of shocking. Lisa's role as Joni Lamb's executive assistant went far beyond professional boundaries. She was expected to be on call 24/7. Whether it was delivering a coconut cream pie on Thanksgiving or managing personal errands, Lisa found herself at the Lamb's beck and call. It's Thanksgiving. Lisa is with her family, celebrating the holiday, when her phone buzzes. It's Joni Lamb, her boss. And not just her boss, but the woman who demanded loyalty above all else. And what does Joni want? A work emergency, perhaps? A network crisis? Nope. She needed Lisa to drop everything and pick up a coconut cream pie. That's right. Lisa was told to leave her family gathering, go to a store, buy a pie, and deliver it to the Lamb's house. Just leave it on the counter and go back to your family.
Does this mean you basically were on call 24/7?
Yes, ma'am. I had a BlackBerry back when BlackBerries were around.
And she could call you at any point and you'd have to come.
There was one example, I'll never forget it. It was a Thanksgiving Day.
Oh my.
No joke. Thanksgiving Day. And I had a Thanksgiving at my parents' house, which they only lived around the corner from me. We were having Thanksgiving dinner, and it was her calling me on the phone on my BlackBerry. Lisa Lou, would you go over to Madeline's, which was over there in Arlington, pick up a coconut cake and bring it to the house and leave it on the counter? Sure enough, I did. Sure enough, I put it on the counter.
You left your family on Thanksgiving Day.
I certainly did. I says, I have to make a run. I will be back. Continue on. And I left the house, got in my car, went to La Madeline, picked it up, took it to her house, left it on the counter. They were in the other room having their dinner. Cake was on the counter, left the place, closed the door, and went right back to my family. Yes, I did.
Wow.
That was a true fact.
This wasn't about the pie. It was about control. This is just one example of how Joni treated Lisa, not as a valued employee, but as someone who existed to serve her every whim, no matter how ridiculous. Here's a perfect example. Marcus gets a new car, Joni has to get one too. But it didn't stop there. Lisa and the staff were expected to maintain these vehicles, weekly. We're talking about washing, waxing, gassing up the cars, and even making sure they were warmed up and ready to go before Joni left the house. And this wasn't just an occasional thing, but a regular expectation. But the hardest part was that this was all happening with the donor's money. Lisa saw firsthand how donor money that was supposed to fund ministry work, was being used for personal luxuries. From lavish cars to catered meals with linen tablecloths, everything had to reflect the image of success.
Again, you're using donor funds. This is a donor-funded ministry, right? You're using donor funds, and you're using something that's given for the advancement of the gospel, and you're using it for your own vacation, for Rachel's vacation or for the family vacation. And so that becomes an issue.
When Marcus's 7-year affair came to light, Lisa Anderson witnessed a moment that, to her, revealed just how deeply rooted silence and denial were within Joni Lamb's family. During a private discussion, Joni's mother, Sandra, had a piece of advice for her daughter that shocked Lisa to her core. Her words, "Stick with that man. Don't leave him." And Joni listened.
You stick with that man.
This is what Sandra said.
Don't leave him. You stick with him. Now, there were other things said, but the gist of it, I don't care what you do. Don't leave that man. And she listened to her mom.
Think about that. This wasn't a conversation about accountability, healing, or taking a stand for herself or her family. No, this was about preserving the image, maintaining the status quo, and keeping the empire intact. It wasn't about addressing Marcus's betrayal or protecting the integrity of the ministry. And to Lisa, this moment wasn't just about Marcus's affair, it was about a generational pattern of silence and complicity. Instead of addressing the real issues, this was about keeping everything under wraps. Joni chose to follow her mother's advice, and what could have been a moment of reckoning turned into another chapter in a long history of sweeping problems under the rug. For Lisa, this moment made it painfully clear. The culture of silence wasn't just a workplace issue, it was a family legacy. Let's talk about the scandal itself. In 2010, Marcus Lamb confessed on live television to what he referred to as an improper relationship. But let's be clear, this wasn't just a momentary lapse in judgment. It was a 7-year affair with a senior employee, someone over whom Marcus held both professional and spiritual authority. And here's the thing, this confession didn't come from a place of remorse. According to Lisa and legal documents, Marcus's announcement was a calculated move. It wasn't about taking accountability. It was about damage control. At the time of his confession, 3 former employees were preparing to file lawsuits against Marcus and Daystar, alleging not only misconduct but also financial improprieties. The Lambs knew these lawsuits were coming, and they went on air first, spinning the narrative as a personal marital challenge. By framing the affair as a brief misstep and playing up their reconciliation, they tried to protect their reputation and discredit anyone who might speak out.
He says, if any of you are thinking about suing Daystar, you better think again. Okay? Because we just finished taking care of 3 people who just tried to bamboozle Daystar or something like that. And he says, so if you're seriously thinking about doing something like that, you better think again. And he's making it very, very clear. If you're considering suing Daystar, you better think again, because they have a team that will come after you and basically destroy you. And that's basically what he was trying to say. It was a very short meeting. I don't think it lasted more than 10 minutes. And then everybody was told to go back to their station. But he made it very, very clear. Don't try to sue Daystar.
If any of you are thinking about suing Daystar, you better think again. We just took care of 3 people who tried to bamboozle this ministry, and we'll come after you if you try anything. Imagine that. You're working for a Christian organization, a place that's supposed to embody forgiveness, humility, and grace. And instead, you're being threatened by your employer. Lisa described the atmosphere in that room as tense, fearful, and deeply unsettling. This wasn't a leader taking responsibility. This was a man protecting his empire at all costs. Lisa wasn't alone in feeling this way. Several staff members described Marcus's message as an intimidation tactic, designed to silence anyone who might dare to come forward. For Lisa, this meeting was a turning point. She began to see Daystar not as a ministry, but as a corporation, one where power, control, and money mattered more than faith, integrity, or accountability. Lisa Anderson had a front row seat to the inner workings of Daystar, and her perspective on the recent allegations of SA involving Jonathan and Susie Lamb's daughter, as well as the ongoing power struggle at the network, sheds new light on the dynamics within the Lamb family. Let's hear from Lisa herself about what she thinks of these heartbreaking and shocking revelations.
And when you heard these allegations, what did you think when you first heard them?
I'm shocked. When those things came out, I couldn't believe more. I believed more what Jonathan was saying than what his mom was saying. I'll put it that way. Now, I got an opportunity to work around Joni day and night and day, after hours, during hours. So in all the years that I've known Jonathan, I would never known him to done anything against the grain, anything that was against God. Okay, so for me to hear what Joni says, I think it should have been a little bit more sensitive from the mom to the son, because this is your son. And if you know your son, you would know that he wouldn't be just making this stuff up to gain anything. He was humble. Jonathan is a humble young man. And I knew him before he became a man, if you will, okay, because he was a young boy going to school. Okay, they were always pleasant. He didn't have a high tone in his voice. He was very soft-spoken. He would think before he spoke. He would do a lot of reading. And these are the things I saw him without even having a conversation. So for me to hear that, I couldn't believe it. I just flat out say I couldn't believe it. I would question, just me personally, I would question more of how Joni went about stuff. That's what I would question more than what Jonathan would do.
For nothing is hidden that will not be made manifest, nor is anything secret that will not be known and come to light. That's from Luke 8:17, and it's a reminder that truth, no matter how deeply it's buried, always finds a way to surface. Lisa Anderson's story is one of remarkable courage. She stood up to a powerful organization, sharing her truth not just for herself, but for others still silent. Her bravery highlights the strength it takes to confront power and inspires hope for accountability and change. Lisa's actions remind us of the importance of standing for truth, even when it's difficult. Her story challenges us to hold leaders accountable and ensures that ministries prioritize humility, integrity, and love over control and power. If you believe in fighting for truth and holding leaders accountable, please like this video and consider subscribing to support our mission. God bless, and I'll see you in the next one.